Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Friday time. You know how it goes. We got to keep you up on your Fridays, and boy, this is going to be an exciting Friday. So we got some questions. We have many questions.
I'm tired, Kyle. It's definitely Friday. Let's go easy this time. Let's have just a nice, gentle float of Q&A. It's just standard, right?
Yeah, of course.
Where do these come from this week? This time? This episode?
A variety of sources, here and there, out there. So, yeah. Nothing too crazy. Just wanted to mix things up a little bit. We're going to get started off with this one here from Commander Proton. It's brought up in the comic that Sonic doesn't want to kill villains, but I find it odd that he doesn't even want to imprison them indefinitely or for just a certain amount of time. I've discussed it with the friends, and we generally agreed, while it's understandable Sonic doesn't want to kill, not even wanting them locked up goes too far in the opposite direction. So, I was wondering if you can clarify or explain anything about this decision to have Sonic have this mentality, as I'd like to hear straight from the horse's mouth about it, since that might let me better understand it. P.S. I know partially it's about Sonic believing Eggman one day will become good, but I never found that a satisfying answer since it's Eggman, so that will likely never happen.
Yeah, but the thing is, we understand that from a metacontextual level. We understand that the principal protagonist and the principal antagonist will always be at odds. Sonic, within the context of his universe, doesn't know that. He has no idea that he is within a predestined existence. For him, the possibility is real, but that's also a degree of metacontextual understanding as well. And from my understanding, it boils down to Sonic doesn't want to inhibit anyone's freedom, period, including incarceration. That once Eggman has been defeated, he's content and moves on. The direction I've received even goes so far as to say he does not actively seek out dangers to prevent them. He exclusively is reactionary. Something has to happen for him to stop, rather than him say, hey, that looks like it's going to be trouble. I better nip it in the bud. I am not super fond of that myself. I understand it, but I'm not totally wild about it. And to another extent, it's okay for Sonic to be wrong. We don't have to necessarily agree with his worldview completely. He can be, somewhat aloof, somewhat naive, and there you go. Sonic has a character flaw. Hot diggity.
Here's a question from Conjure. I've noticed that the emotionally charged character arcs in the IDW run seem to be relegated mostly to the original characters. Whisper, Tangle, Bell, and Surge immediately come to mind, while characters like Sonic and Shadow are written noticeably more muted. Is this intentional? Is this something to do with the rules of the IP? It's something that's become more apparent as the run goes on, and Sonic becomes more and more emotionally stagnant, but wasn't quite so prevalent in the Archie run.
Two levels to that. One, yes, the OCs have less oversight on their general characterization and have more latitude to move. That was the same as back in the Archie days. And one of the reasons why there was such a robust extended cast is that you could do full character arcs and changes, whereas the licensed characters always had to remain recognizable. Now, that fluctuated a fair bit in the Archie run because there were different degrees of oversight. There were different degrees of communication between different departments of SEGA and Archie back in the day. This is before me, and this is during me. So you would have moments where you would have large emotional arcs for those characters, and then ones where you could not. The bandwidth certainly got more restricted around the time I came on board, but that was when things started to become a little more consolidated as well. And SEGA is very attentive with IDW, so things are definitely more inclined to be on brand with this.
Mm-hmm. Here's one from Tony C. I've read some interviews about your writing process in Mega Man, as you had to watch Let's Plays in order to write it. Some people now think that this applies to Sonic 2. Have you played all Sonic games, or have you been in the necessity to watch Let's Plays of Sonic?
I played just about everything. I mean, I bought a Bloody Connect to play Sonic Free Riders.
Which you found out it played itself, basically.
Yeah, God. I really should have saved my money and just watched the LP of that one.
Probably.
I'll tell you that.
If it existed at that time, when did that game come out? I guess streaming was a thing at that time, but it wasn't quite as prevalent as it is now.
No, I guess not.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought what was it? Was it the Vita that had the two Rivals games on it?
PSP.
I don't even remember anymore.
The original PSP.
Okay. I bought a PSP just to play those two. So I've played just about everything. I never owned a Game Gear, but I did get Sonic Mega Collection on the Cube back in the day, so I could play some of those. So there's like a handful out there that I never really got to play firsthand. Never got to play Sonic Shuffle, which from what I hear is probably a good thing. But most of it I have experienced firsthand, and a whole lot. That being said, I'm not going to perfectly retain every iota of information about every game ever. So the internet is a wonderful resource for going back to the source material without having to dig out an old console if I still have it, and hope to high heaven that my save file is intact. I can pull up somebody's LP and scroll through to where I know the information is and go, okay, I was right, or need to correct that, and I don't have to spend hours upon hours upon hours going through the game again just to get to that point.
Yep, that makes sense. I mean, honestly, actually playing through Mega Man games is an exercise in frustration. Although with Mega Collection, it makes it a lot easier because of the rewind feature, which it didn't originally have, but thankfully they added it. So yeah, the Mega Collection is a good way to play classic Mega Man, and with some hand holding in place. But really though, are you telling me you really didn't play the Mega Man DOS games? Seriously?
No.
You're fired. Never write another Mega Man comic. Unless someone asks you.
I did have a story arc and idea for them, though.
Of course you did. You had a story arc and idea for everything, and I am thankful for it. Here's a question from Emery K. Why would you reward Auntie Sally and Son Amy fans with Sally Cole? They lose legitimacy on the fact alone that they are Auntie Sally fans. Plus, Sally and Nicole being lesbians goes against their characterization from Sad AM. Sally was established as a heterosexual. Turning her into a lesbian just to have more Sonic X Amy is selfish. Ian did not invent the established Sally character. Him and the other Sally haters and anti-Son Ally fans and Son Amy fans had no right to change her. The disrespect was just purely uncalled for. The whole on and off relationship thing was because of writers and SEGA interfering. When the two were allowed to be together, they had great chemistry and showed that love will prevail, even if they were separated, even if they were from two different classes, they could still make it work. I find that way more inspiring than a hammer-wielding yandere getting in the way.
Number one, it's not a reward. It's not a contest. Nobody is winning. It's not an actual battle. Stop with that mentality, please. This is why I hate shipping. This kind of toxic mentality. Just no. No. 2, the post-boot Sally was not Sad AM Sally. Clearly, obviously, blatantly, it was a new interpretation of the character within a new context and a new continuity. 3, Sally was bi. She still had her relationship with Sonic in the past. It didn't work out between them. She was free to move on. 4, and I know we covered this at some point, or maybe this was on the old forums. God, how long has it been? Regardless, separating Sally and Sonic was to her betterment, because she would never be able to commit to Sonic. There would always be that divide between them because the licensor doesn't want Sonic to be in a serious relationship with anyone. So she would be fated to forever be the kinda girlfriend, which I think is unfair to the character, when she could have the potential to be with anyone else, go in another direction, have a life of her own that isn't just defined as the thing on Sonic's arm. So when I was discussing, options with Aaliyah Baker, that was one of the ideas we came up with, and it seemed to fit to us, that she and Nicole grew up together. They had a deep foundational friendship, and where we wanted to go with things was for that friendship to grow into something else, the same kind of direction that she had with Sonic, and just it didn't work out because that things happen. And they remain friends because they're heroes, and that's good. And that's a positive relationship thing that we should see more of. So we never actually got there. Spark of Life was kind of the foundational plant the seeds. This is where it will grow, and we never got there. But saying that that was the intention is been spun out on the internet as they were like apparently married now. Now, whether you prefer one pairing over the other, I'm not going to weigh in on it. Sonic and Sally work. They are a fun power couple. They absolutely are. Sonic and Amy work. They're also fun. Sonic could work with a lot of characters, and Sally and Amy could work with a fair number. Amy could probably use more options. Poor girl has tunnel vision. Get out there, live your life, experience it. But there was no vendetta. There was no rewards. There was no disrespect. It was just trying to give the characters options.
Salami is delicious. Here's a question from Liam D. Just bought the Tangle and Whisper miniseries, and I've been reminded that Whisper's mask can translate wisps. Now what I understand, all comics onwards do not acknowledge this and does not seem to be important to the plot. So did you forget about this? Has this been used, or is this going to be used? I feel this could be relevant for a story.
It's not really, though. It's mostly to explain why Whisper is able to interact with her wisps, and we don't have to explain it every time she shows up. We established that the mask does the translation for her, and if anyone asks afterwards, that's the quick point of reference. It's the mask, and there you go. It wasn't really meant to be a plot point.
And here's a question from William L. I'd still very much like to know whose decision it was to change the histories of the core Freedom Fighter team from their Deke/early comic origins, when there was, as far as I can tell, absolutely no reason to change them. I also want to know whose decision it was to remove Robians in their entirety, thus prompting the change in Bunny's history during the reboot.
I don't want to say it was one person's. It was kind of a collective discussion, but post-reboot, there had to be a clean break from the pre-reboot. And I mean like surgical clean as it can be. In terms of SatAM origins, there really wasn't a ton to be lost. I mean, Sally was still King Acorn's daughter. Antoine still aspired to be a soldier. Bunny was still part robot. Rotor didn't have a backstory in SatAM. He was just kind of there. Everything with his mother in the North and the constantly hypnotized walruses and whatnot, that was all pre-reboot Archie stuff. Everything with Alicia and Elias and the source of all and blah, blah, blah with Sally, that's all Archie stuff. Beauregard and Aunt Lulume and all that for Bunny. There you go. That's all that. So we couldn't touch it. And, if we're going to make a new incarnation of the Freedom Fighters, might as well make them fit in the new universe.
Yeah, I think it works. Did it need to be changed? Like, not really, but legally, technically, yes. So I guess it was kind of the best way you could do it at the time, and that's fine.
I mean,
there's plenty There's plenty more to work with there. There's plenty to go with, and the origins of them weren't really super clear in SatAM anyway. Like, I don't really remember.
Robian, just the term Robian,
yeah,
is an Archie concept. We couldn't use that,
right?
So
yeah, it's just
like the foundation of Bunny's origin is that she was partially roboticized and rescued by Sonic. That remained the same.
Yeah.
Sally was still the princess and the leader of the team. Rotor was still a gadget guy. Mm-hmm. Antoine was still an aspiring soldier with some chivalry issues. But he was no longer a tired stereotype or the butt of a joke. He was an actual character.
Antoine was still French, even though there's no France on Mobius.
Yeah.
Oh, well, don't think about it too hard.
I wonder if they do come back, if he would remain French.
Huh. Well, I mean, character can have a weird accent. It'd be fine.
I don't know.
You just don't have to say where it's from. Here's a question from Henry L. Was it necessary for Dr. Starline to die? Why did he have to die? Why was he killed off? Dr. Starline has been one of my favorite characters from Sonic IDW. Was it necessary to kill him?
To reiterate the point in brief, if you want to hear the whole rambling explanation, go to the Q&A master list. But basically, it was the most logical culmination for his character arc. He was a bad person who did terrible things and tried to take on someone who was infinitely more capable and viler than him. And he paid the consequences for it.
He's a bad man, and bad things happen to bad people. So, here's one from Supersonic 93, and after this one, we're going to take a break. Is there a reason why you hate Marine the raccoon? I know she's hyperactive and annoying, but she means well and has a good heart on top of being developed as a character in future games if she returns.
Totally agree. The running gag that I hate Marine is just a goof. She's fun. She is a nice foil to Blaze especially. And, you know, she's just delightful in her own little manic sort of way. She's great for a punchline.
This is a long time running gag, and, you know, you kind of initially fed into it, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. I played it up because she is... Really, her characterization for most of Rush Adventure is the annoying younger sibling.
Yeah.
The one that you just kind of wish would go play over there for 5 minutes. But her character arc is solid, and her gimmick is fun. Her design's pretty good. And she's fun.
She makes sense as a counterpart for Blaze. It's okay. I'm good with that. Also, what I'm good with? A break. You're probably good with that too, Ian.
Wait, we're only halfway through?
We're back, and we got a question here from Laviare. Why have Shadow turned into an idiot? You could easily have him stay in the cast instead as a proper contrast.
Number one, when was he made an idiot? Or is this still the Zombot thing? Has this become my slap?
I think so.
One plot point that didn't stick the landing and is going to be harped upon until the heat death of the universe.
I think so, except in this case, you actually did write the thing in question. John Gray did not write the slap.
Well, no. True.
John Gray is not responsible for the slap. You are responsible for Cowards Run, I Win. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I wrote the line. I was doing the best I could. It didn't quite work. I have said as much. It's been established. Can we please move on?
Yeah.
As for a regular member of the cast, that's not remotely possible. Number one, that's not befitting Shadow. He isn't a ensemble cast member. He is the very definition of a solo act. As much as I love the dynamic of Team Dark, even then, that's a very tight-knit, small unit. And given Sega's current direction with him, he's nigh unworkable.
Unfortunately. Here's a question from Certified Nobody. The Sonic's World is cartoon logic excuse doesn't sit right with me, when, with the exception of Tails flying, Sonic's version of Earth does seem to have its own logic and physics that make sense. Cartoon logic implies there's no consistency or purpose. It's like calling Superman's flying cartoon physics. There's an internal logic to it that just doesn't exist in the real world. Ian, do you disagree, or do you not mean to imply this when you say Sonic's Earth has cartoon logic?
I think there's degrees of cartoon logic, because to me, Superman is cartoon logic.
Yeah, he is.
An alien who is perfectly identical to humans, who through solar rays gains the ability to jump and thus defy gravity. And I don't know if this is still canon in the current DC stuff, but I remember hearing somewhere that it was explained away as a degree of psychic power, and it's like, okay, that's still nonsense. Sonic is especially cartoon logic. You know, he picks up a Chaos Emerald the size of his head, tucks it behind his back, and boop, pocket dimension, it's gone.
Amy's
he
hammer
runs around
comes
and
from
his feet
nowhere.
turn into a circle or a figure eight. Knuckles glides by fanning out the spikes on his head, for pity's sake.
Yeah.
You know, you have people digging into sheer rock walls without any actual disturbance of the surface or real digging equipment. It's cartoon logic. They're cartoon characters. Now, for any series that's going to do that, it has to have some degree of consistency. I'm not saying like it's Looney Tunes logic, where everyone can distort and stretch and violence has no consequences, or it's really out there. But within the confines of its own reality, it does have its own physics, sure, but it is cartoon logic because they are cartoon characters.
I mean, look at the way Amy flings around a hammer, and she's got little scrawny noodly arms. Because everybody has scrawny noodly arms in this universe. So how does she wield a hammer that way? I don't know. It's cartoon logic. It's fine. Don't worry about it too much.
Cartoon logic is not a derogatory term.
No.
Or it shouldn't be. It's just a description of what it is. It is not hard science in the slightest. It is its own little world with its own little rules.
Right. They're not beholden to the physics of reality. We can have some fun with it. And I'm okay with that. Here's a question from Sahi. Why make Sonic lose his memory at the end of the Zombots arc? Wouldn't it have been easier to simply keep him unconscious instead? Was there at some point any plan to develop this plot of Sonic who lost his memory?
Check the Q&A master list, because I know we've touched this one a few times.
We have.
In short, it was meant as a kind of thematic bookend to the Mr. Tinker element.
We have answered some of these questions probably at least a few times now, but, sometimes it's good for the new people. We put out a lot of stuff, Ian. Sometimes it's good to reiterate some of these things that keep coming up. Chaotic Canine has a question. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Can we stop acting like Heroes made Amy crazy / psychotic or otherwise ruined her? The only actual instance of Amy going off the rails in that game is that single cutscene preceding the Sonic Team versus Team Rose boss fight. I'm pretty sure she went off rails multiple times if you made her jump off of them in that game, by the way. Which shouldn't be taken as anything remotely serious, given that 1, the cutscene only exists to establish conflict for a boss fight and literally nothing more, and 2, it is just one of 3 other cutscenes which have other characters acting wildly hostile and trying to kill each other for the sake of said boss fights. Need to remind you all that Team Dark versus Team Chaotix had Rouge getting overly hostile and attacking Team Chaotix out of blind paranoia. We don't act like Heroes made Rouge into paranoid psycho because of her equivalent cutscene, keeping in mind the merits Heroes added to Rouge's character as a whole. But for Amy, Heroes made her off the rails and psychotic for that stupid cutscene, even though that game upgraded Amy into a badass hero who leads her very own team. And not only goes for a 3+ day journey to help Cream and Big find their missing friends out of kindness, with getting to be with Sonic being a bonus, but raises their spirits whenever they get discouraged.
So, number 1, you're right. All the boss cutscenes were an excuse plot just to get people to throw hands.
I mean, to be fair, Vector called Rouge a broad, so to be fair.
But Heroes is not the only culprit. It's kind of the beginning of a trend. It was in line with her characterization in X, and in the immediate follow-up with Heroes, you have Rouge, who goes from, as you said, some good elements in Heroes to being arguably the smartest and most capable character in that entire bloody game, where Amy devolves further to the point where she hallucinates Sonic as fighting by her side for the sake of their child, because Rouge made a snide mark about Emerald being Sonic's kid now. It's a whole era that taken together is kind of regrettable. Heroes had some elements that did not help that, but no, it was not the singular thing. It was kind of more of the precipice of things to come.
Yes. Here's a question from Playerback772. Although this is not really a question, it's more just an observation. Master Emerald has no properties, yet games show otherwise. Contradictory there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Agreed. You are correct.
Said so myself.
You are correct. Protector of Souls has a question. Wow, bro, you contradicted yourself tremendously saying that Goku is superior to Sonic, when literally Sonic defeated beings capable of erasing space-time itself. And believe me, in Dragon Ball, the greatest power feat is being able to destroy 12 universes, which not even it was made by Goku or Bills. And Solaris destroyed everything, all timelines, all universes, all dimensions. I understand you were probably a fan of Dragon Ball, but please destroy one universe is irrelevant to destroy an endless amount of universes with a presence. Please, it's not that hard.
Okay. No, Sonic did not defeat Solaris. Super Sonic defeated Solaris. Super Sonic with Super Shadow and Super Silver together defeated Solaris. The three of them, imbued with mystic power that literally reshapes reality, defeated Solaris. Sonic, by himself, got shanked by a single energy beam by Mephiles and was dead. Goku, I understand wanting to protect your favorite franchises. I'm not saying that Sonic is weak in the slightest, but base level Goku is on a completely different level than Sonic.
All right, and we have one from Dark. All of these last three questions actually have a bit of a theme. They go together. I can't believe Ian said Game Supersonic was less than planet level when he beat Chaos, who stated to be able to destroy the planet. He's beaten Solaris, who by Ian's own admission can wreck everything. It's crazy because Ian in the same Q&A contradicts himself. He admits Mogul was destroying infinite multiverses, or he at least admits that Sonic has infinite multiverses, which is far and above anything Goku could ever dream of doing. Ian knows that Dragon Ball Super only has 12 universes, right?
Master Mogul and the multiverse thing was Archie Sonic. That's not Game Sonic. That's a completely different continuity, kettle of fish, nonsense, power levels, irrelevant. You may not submit that to this court for consideration. Judge Ian denies it. Number 2, as previously stated, Super Sonic needed the assistance of 2 other super beings to actually make a dent in Solaris. Like, that's the entire first half of that boss fight. They have to crack the armor so that he can actually do something against it. It was a struggle. Perfect Chaos's destruction of the world, I don't believe is meant to be literal, in that more of destroying it in a recognizable and habitable sense. I don't think Perfect Chaos is a world breaker. I think he's just a world flooder. It would be a catastrophe, to be sure. You know, wiping out things is still destruction of the world, but he's not literally destroying the planet.
Yeah. Also,
Goku's stronger than Sonic. I'm sorry. It's there. It is. It's irrefutable.
yes. When you put Goku in the next Smash Brothers, we'll truly find out, and we'll know.
Oh, Lord.
Here we go with a question. Our last question from Blaze Sings. I have to disagree with you on Sonic's power, Ian. He's fighting beings that go above a celestial scale. They go cosmic. These are fourth-dimensional beings he's able to hurt.
As Super Sonic. Enter the folks saying, but he beat Perfect Chaos in his normal form back in Generations. He sure did. You know what I'm going to do, Kyle? I'm going to climb to the top of Sega's corporate ladder. I'm going to take the Sonic crown out of the vault, place it upon my head, and I'm going to revise Generation so it has a cutscene where Sonic says, I remember Perfect Chaos being stronger than that, just to kill that one plot point.
Finally.
I will move heaven and earth to retcon just that out of spite.
Finally, you admit that you have gone over Sega's heads and just done your own thing. Finally. Finally. Good times. We finally found out the truth about Ian Flynn. But you know where else we are? Giving thanks to all the folks who helped make this episode possible. And all the previous episodes too. We can't forget that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members for making this whole mess possible. Big thank you to Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Robotnik Holmes, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Torchbound, Mike B., Dave M., Coupling Crew 128, Salute Your Cat, Andrew D., J. Frost, Duas Disden, Hero of Light 13, Professor Scruffy Matt, Ryan D., Chris A., Sony Noni, John M., Jib, Don B., Yami M., Lee H.K., Lisa M., Fiona M., Chevelle, Invade Turbo Tunis, Ben Wolfsbane, Sonic, Keeper of Monsters, Axis, Tick, Scurvy, Pirate Hog, Xander, Ernie the Painter, Final Neil, Jonathan just really likes Princess Sally, The Name is X, Justin S., Zolaris Stain, Nemric, Godzilla, Arc Fighter, Dadler the Dalek, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Ava Arctic, Pedantic Cat, Dove, Quaggle Gaggle, Professor Rye, Red the Supernamic, Nondal, Cameron H., Chad Les, Jennifer H., Just a Mountain Soul, Sapphire Scarletta, Alphamon or Yukon, Joshua S., Omega Watt, Finest Cacophony, Preston M., Starlight Seg, Jolene B, Sonic 84, Noah S, Alex GS, Kojiro Highwind, Dapper Shinks, Sonic Superfan, Awesome Cakester, Radry, Chase L, Ty H, Callum Q, Twilord, Red Wolf, Nabius, Cosmic Cooking Hunter 77, and Tails, Derucival, Maddie H, The Disgayan, KJB, John the Real Waluigi, N Zephyr, Wild 48, Mox, T Ranger, The Marble Gardener, Owen BD, All of the Stars, Chaos Sonic 1, Miles of Prower, Navarre, XDel, Agent Kaz, For Sonic Fan, Puppy the Scholar, Rhythm Raccoon, Miggy Sawdust, Pigdan 20, Ty Cyan, Lewis J, Michael P, Delta God 77, Curly Quills, Ozjam Shimmy M, Angela V, Fang the Werehog, Mr. Murderbird, The Giant Murdering Bird, Stupid Ugly, Classic Sonic, Nova Poly Duo, Chaos Shadow, Timon B, Thievius, Smiley 21, The Flower Garden, Sammy S, Lacey M, Unlikely Veronica, Phi, Sterling Sonic, Sonic Underground, Rocket Man, Windskull, Delontai, Sky the Desu, Supernova, Indabin, Superior Pizza, Sonic Padge, Tetsu Knife, Thigolf, Crowbo, Sonic Mania 2099, Adronis, Nils, Finds Cacophony, Wild Psycho, The Cartoonist, Butter Noodles, Miles Prower D, Peter M, Frost the White Lion, Danny the Light, Ryoku Shion, Meta Mode, Wheels 282 Hedgehog, and Jamal S.
Nice.
That's going to do it for this week. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast. And you know what else we put out there?
For the new
Q&A
folks.
master list. So it's easy for them to find instead of making work on a Friday.
We're not even recording this on Friday. How dare you, sir, trying to complain about it
Don't
being
pull back
Friday.
the curtain on me. You maintain the illusion. Oh, God, I hate these power level arguments.
So many.
Number one.
So many universes. Only 12
Number one.
universes versus infinite
Number one.
multiverses.
Stop it.
Let's fight.
Shush. I'm trying to end this episode.
Yeah.
Number one.
You're trying to end me. Is
Mogul
probably what you're going to be doing.
You know what else? I know someone in the comments is going to bring up the Frieza movie and how Goku got punked with a laser shot while he let his guard down.
You're not going to stop them. You're never going to stop them, Ian. They'll always find something. It doesn't matter. This is where we are now.
You know what it is? A lack of consistency across the brand.
What? No, that would never happen in this franchise, Ian. How dare you even insinuate such a thing? Have you thought of any storylines for the Shadow Androids? Like, Androids? What's an Android?
It's when you leave Andros out in the sun too long.
I guess so. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
Big thank you to, and this is where Kyle puts the file.
I'm the one who's supposed to sass back on this show, not you.
Well, see, if you put the file here, you're going to cut this out. Ergo, you will have nullified my sass.
Except, I'm just going to put this in at the end of the show. Because, of course, I am.
I know the illness that afflicts your brain.
You truly do. You well and truly do. Because it's the same as yours.
After doing it this long, we ought to know how each other work. Okay, let's wrap this up.